Watch this.
The research process. Selecting and framing the research question.
Now, here you are sitting in the bushes of a 3-year-old gumboweed that's blowing in the winter wind on the side of a Virginia highway. And you decide you want an explanation to a phenomenon you've been observing over the last 12 hours. You notice that every red car which is driven by has been going at least 10 miles faster than any other cars on the road. You decide you want to research this phenomenon further. And you know that the first thing you need to do in order to start your research process is come up with a theory and a hypothesis.
Theories and hypotheses.
A theory is an assertion about something like
People, humans who drive red cars, drive much faster. They're speed freaks, faster than other human beings. And the reason has to do with the red dye in the enamel coating of the automobile.
Well, thanks to the freedom of thought, anyone can come up with a theory. But the theory's got to be about something that is capable of being disproved. Something capable of being disproved is also known as a hypothesis.
A hypothesis is not a theory. It's derived from a theory.
a theory is an ideal conceptual model of how social life works. If the world works the way a theory says it does, will an educated guess derived from a theory correctly predict the outcome of your study?
Well, the educated guess is called a hypothesis. A hypothesis is tested, and the results are then compared to the theory asserted. All right, example. Theory: poor people use drugs to escape the harsh realities of life. Hypothesis: people over the age of 18 with annual incomes of less than $20,000 will have higher rates of drug use than those with annual incomes of more than $20,000. So, if the hypothesis doesn't support the theory, then you have a theory no more. In other words, if the hypothesis don't fit, you must acquit.
You may be wondering why we're looking at this in such negative terms. Why should we try and disprove something? Wouldn't we rather prove it? Of course we would, but we can't. I don't care how egotistical you might be. No theory or hypothesis can ever really be proved. Facts can be noted, truths can be stated, but theories can only be supported or rejected. Take, for instance, the Big Bang Theory, or the theory of evolution, or the theory of that ghost kid in 3 Men and a Baby.
So here's the theory we're going to work with. People who drive red cars drive them fast because they're off their rockers. Well, our guy's explanation for this phenomenon is pretty nuts itself. He thinks it's the rusting enamel. That's pretty hard to test. How about we think of a more reasonable theory? How about we try...
People drive red cars faster than other colored cars.
Well, that seems pretty reasonable to me. So what's the next step in the framing of the research question?
The literature search.
When you do research, you want to know as much as possible about what other researchers already know. So you should do a literature review. Libraries are a great starting point. They've got cool things like information databases that will have tons of indexed sources like magazines, books, newspapers, government reports, films, documentaries, and lots more intellectually stimulating stuff. The literature review helps you to develop a study that builds on earlier research so yours can be the best. You can get to know your subject like the back of your hand.
After you've come up with a hypothesis and considered the earlier research, you must now choose your independent and dependent variables. And what are these variable things?
Independent and dependent variables.
These variable things are very important in your study. Get this. Variables are the little buggers that you're actually going to observe, like the speed of a red car. Variables are the things that will be observed and measured during the project.
The independent variable is what is believed to cause change in other variables. However, the independent variable isn't affected by anything.
In the case of the speeding red cars, my knowledgeable explorers, the independent variable is the liking of speed. Because red car drivers like speed, they drive faster than the speed limit, jiffy fast. No one can control the speed of these drivers except for the drivers themselves, so the speed they choose to drive is independent. Naturally, the plot unfolds and we are led down the yellow brick road of sociology to...
the dependent variable. This is the variable that is affected by the independent variable. This variable may or may not change based on the effects of the independent variable.
Our dependent variable is driving fast.
So that makes liking speed the independent variable and driving fast the dependent variable. Now that we've got a hypothesis and we did a literature search in order to learn about earlier research, and we've distinguished our independent variables from our dependent variables, we can now start to design the study.